And welcome to another episode of Who Gives a Hoot? All of us in the same room edition.
Weird.
It's weird.
All of us in the same state edition.
It's same state. That is true.
Hold on, I didn't make a quick tweet about me being Council Bluffs.
Well,
It's okay. I already placed a bet.
well, we've made it through the end of 2024, and since we last recorded, we've had some news. Actually, quite a bit of news.
What happens when you take the holidays off?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're not quite through the holidays. There's one holiday left. A few days of not working. That's positive.
I have a little bit more, but yeah.
Damn you, educators.
Thank you, Jay Turner.
So we've had the Jaeger Cup announcement. We've had the schedule drop. We've had we've had three in total announcements from Union Omaha? Or is it just the one?
Are you talking about players?
We had the initial players return.
Yeah.
Yes, we have the initial players as well as Dom leaking on League One on the Rocks. That Max would be coming back as well.
Okay.
So we only had one from the team, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Which shocked. Every other team seems to be releasing about a player a day, and Union Omaha.
Don't forget, it was January when we basically announced 11 players on the same day before our first
in
season, right?
2020.
Yeah.
It was like mid-January,
Yeah.
This is,
Which was one of the brilliant ideas of a former co-host of the podcast, Ben Turner, was to release all on the same day, kind of the draft sort of announcement.
I mean, we're seeing players, like, again, here and there from other teams, but I think really what it comes down to is we have our initial returning players, and we're having players who are maybe looking to get picked up by other clubs, like higher level clubs elsewhere.
Before we dive too much into players, because I know we can burn a lot of time talking players. Let's talk about this combined league Jaeger Cup. You'd written a article, but then the announcement dropped.
I love that it did happen, that there is a combined version. I think the format is not the best.
Okay.
I think there could have been a lot of better ways to format it.
They did it regionally, but the regionality is interesting.
I mean, the region, it is interesting. It's also, there's 7 or 8 teams to a group, but you only play 4 games. Or
6 or 7.
6 or 7. And you only play 4 games. Whereas you could have just made 5-team groups and have 2 4-team groups and then have them play one.
I also don't understand how you can have one group with 7 teams, only 2 League One teams, and then one group 6 teams, 3 League One teams. It sounds like they either completely missed that or did not care to kind of balance the groups.
I think there was definitely some travel considerations put in, where there are certain teams that I think are more geographically sound or closer to us, or at least would geographically make more sense, that didn't end up in our group. But when you look at it,
you can definitely
Tulsa makes more sense, but New Mexico, like that.
There might have been one example of drawing circles around the map, a cluster of teams in Nika, and only maybe have one instance of circles crossing paths. It's as far as like doing it based on region, they did a fairly decent job of it.
Well, and then they didn't even bother to rig it.
Well, I will say this, because you have Portland plays Detroit City, which
I
is
think that's how that works.
which is an interesting one because they're not particularly close in any way, shape, or form. But with the hype of Detroit City being well known as one of the better supporters cultures in the U.S. In any league, having them go against a team which sold out their supporter section in 3 days after putting season tickets out there, is 70% capacity, I think, on their season tickets to their stadium. Like having some of those marquee sort of games.
I mean, we do have two somewhat marquee away games, right? You have New
Yeah.
Mexico United, who has
re-signed Greg Hurst.
who did, and who is also, they average like 10,000 people a game or something like that.
Exactly.
They won the West last year, right? They're a really good team. San Antonio's maybe a little bit down from prior years, but like they're still a really well supported team. So I think we did get 2 good away draws. I really wish we would have gotten Colorado Springs.
It's the last 3 USLC champions, the defending Western Conference regular season champion, and the team that our coach came from.
Yeah.
That's our USL. That's our USL championship.
And of course, we get El Paso and Texoma at home.
Yes.
We get a game where
you thought it wasn't rigged. It was rigged, just not the way you thought.
Yes.
Jeez.
We got a game we would have had at home anyway.
Yeah.
And a game we've already played at home
Twice.
Yeah, Dennis, Texas, El Paso at home.
Are we going to get into the Cup too? Who knows? In the
Wow.
U.S. Open Cup. Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting one because U.S. Open Cup, MLS has at least promised that they're going to put more teams in than they did last year. They seem less dead set on trying to kill it entirely.
Well, you know why.
Read the fine print. It's because San Diego is in the league, so technically it's true.
And also they're lessening the Leagues Cup this year because of the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
So I think their thought is, we'll at least have teams be able to play in one of the 3 competitions.
Yeah.
Is I think the thought.
And maybe like if for Open Cup, it's an MLS team doesn't care. They want to just spike their match just to give their players some time off. They'll gladly do it.
That's what they used to do anyway. Like that's the thing. You can still do what you used to do, which is we have our first team and we're gonna go play our 2 team. Like when we played Chicago in Chicago, they had their really good defender that they'd signed, who was the one who scored their 2 penalties. But everyone else was pretty much a sub, right?
Yeah, they only brought 1 DP. They had a couple rotators off of their first team bench, but then the rest were kids.
It's your typical play the center backs, things like that.
It was a good lesson for MLS there because that was the first year that USL 1 had played Open Cup, or did they play in 2019?
They would have played in 2019.
Yeah. So a more established
Yeah.
USL 1 playing in the Open Cup, viewing it as an amateur division still. There wasn't a whole lot of tape on most of these teams. So by the time we played Minnesota, they were playing 2 of their 3 DPs.
Yeah.
And
about a half of their roster, I would say.
Yeah.
They're starting 11.
And then we went down to Kansas City, who played everyone.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember back in the day when the Galaxy would get drawn against the North Carolina Railhawks, which they always seem to get drawn against, and they would go, and like Bruce Arena wouldn't even go.
Yeah.
Like the coach wouldn't even go to the game, and then they'd lose, and it's like, well, yeah, because you're not freaking taking it seriously. Yeah. So they can do that if they don't care, right? It's just that
I think the travel will definitely play a part, and it'd be interesting to see if MLS is finagling a position of we will toss more teams into this competition, but we want home rights on every match.
So going back to the Jaeger Cup, which is how we kind of got to the Open Cup. I wonder
the cups.
I wonder how it got decided that, because it's clear that they plan on having basically like 4 match day windows for 4 games, but we're still gonna take a match day off and we're gonna play 2 in a match day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so weird.
This wasn't included in any of the resolutions we'll get to, but can we rename the Jaeger Cup to the Jaeger Shield?
No, because maybe
make it a cup.
Make it a cup.
It's a shot at glory, and there weren't even shot glasses on the shield.
Yeah, so it's the Jaeger shot track.
Yeah, if anyone has seen the
Jaeger ski.
Oh God,
Honestly,
no.
honestly, that would have been content.
Yeah, but like take a page from American Bowl season and the trophies you get. Please let us get the full 9 yards of we want an antler cup and everything.
We want it to be functional.
Oh,
Yes.
At first, I thought you were going to say about sacrificing someone into the Jaeger.
I
But
mean,
anyway.
does Jägermeister have a like mascot?
It's the stag, isn't it?
All right, let's do
Yeah,
it.
for a couple
Sacrifice
$100,
tag.
I'll make it.
Well, I know. See, like Formula One, you get the champagne at the end of it. Budweiser has sponsorships where
Yeah, you get the
we,
beer.
Polliner with Bayern, a giant magnum of Jaeger.
Yes, I'm with that.
I carbonate it and just sticky
Yeah,
mess.
yeah. I'm not sure.
Carbonated Jaeger. That's
I'm not sure that idea should exist. I don't know about that.
Jaeger, if for some reason you are watching, there's your sign.
Well, one of the interesting notes from Tim's story, actually, not the resolution one, but the one he posted before, was that the April 26th date we had wanted to host,
Yeah.
but we were kind of overridden by the cup matches.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting note on the schedule, and so we'll see if that carries over in like next year's the year prior or year after schedule. If they continue to put that level of priority, I guess I would say on that.
For those watching or listening, if you are unaware where to find the articles we're mentioning, it is at wgahmedia.com. But the Jaeger Cup is, once you get past the group stages, which are awkward, to say the least,
Mm-hmm.
it gets into a nice kind of like regular tournament style.
It's 8 teams, your 6 group winners, and then of course because it's the Jaeger Cup, the next 2 wild cards, which are highest goal scored. So
I mean, that's how we moved on. So
that's how we did it.
We ain't complaining.
So let's
We are
move
not
on.
complaining.
Yeah.
So there have been some calls saying that this is a trial run for ProRel, with the Jaeger Cup involving both championship and USL 1. What are your thoughts there? Do you think this is a trial run for ProRel, or do you think this is just a good way outside of the Open Cup to show talent within a league?
Reset the counter for talking about ProRel, but I don't think this is a trial for ProRel. I think this is just more or less a trial just to see how this is responded to, because I like the idea of an EFL style, not semi-knockout competition. Those are always fun. It gives more opportunities, you get more rivalries, just more games under teams' belts. If we're going to talk about ProRel, I'm just going to say USL is more than capable of doing it. It's just a matter of professional league standards within US soccer. It is what it is. I'm not going to.
Qualifier.
Yeah.
It can be a trial for ProRel, depending on how much effort USL in general is going to put in marketing, not just the tournament in general, but how it is across divisions. And chaos theory idea is that if it's like absolute best case scenario for USL for some reason or whatever, maybe they use this to go to the federation to try and get Division 1 status.
And try and argue that, hey, we are actually hosting a cup that
not only did MLS try to tank this tournament,
Uh-huh.
look at us doing this tournament amongst multiple divisions, professional only, exists in other countries. We're the first ones trying to actually do it across multiple professional divisions.
Mhm.
So, and this gets to a further question, and maybe this should be an article or a pod to itself. It's been tossed around by people around the league, around both leagues for years at this point. Putting in, instead of elevating championship to a tier 1, putting in a tier 1 above. I know on this pod we've used the term USL Premier, or
I mean, we use English vocabulary in our current naming system, so
Yeah.
it would make sense.
I mean, any top division that if they want to be different, any top division would have to probably have a smaller league. You really want to differentiate yourselves, do a true round robin, so maybe 16 teams. So it's not like adding a new top division, it's really just thinning out what currently is USLC, and then the new division comes in between. They create a new second
So-
division and basically just promote
So
most of championship up.
I'll let you.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, that's when they've talked about ProRel, they've talked about it almost in that fashion, right?
Mhm.
Where they're saying, "Hey, we want another league." They've speculated maybe between Championship and League One, maybe above Championship, um, and I fully agree. You would probably. I mean, I know the U.S. is big, but there are some other big countries who do still have the top level single round robin, and then second level they start splitting. So I could see that being the case. I think really the biggest factor here for ProRel is not like even the cup, honestly. It's purely the number of teams.
Mhm.
And we can't, they're not even going to think about it, I think, until they have enough teams that that makes it viable. Which my thought would be you probably want about 60 teams.
My thought though about splitting it is that you basically need to have all of your teams be the primary tenant of their own stadium because you have to keep dates open
Yeah.
for a
Mhm.
schedule that's going to be made so off the cuff.
So further to that, yes, you need more teams. Yes, you need your own stadium or at least primary tenant in a stadium. But the biggest challenge I see, unless USL removes itself from the umbrella of US soccer, is the ownership requirements.
Mhm.
Because right now, US soccer mandates owners for leagues, and this was created in the 90s, as far as I know, to make sure pro soccer stayed viable. You had too many teams becoming insolvent, which you're still seeing in USL League One with two teams dropping, one not due to insolvency, but tenancy issues,
Yeah.
and other one lawsuits and failure to pay, where the league had to step in. And there is another team in League One that seems to be having financial issues
Mhm.
where part of their grounds in their newly built stadium are up for public auction.
Mhm.
So that being part of the issue of the tenancy issue, but U.S. soccer requiring what is it, $11 million liquid from the primary owner of a tier 3 team,
I thought it was 10, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
10 million.
and then it's like $35 million liquid for a tier 2, and then
At least
I think it's 50 million for tier one.
it's a lot.
The guide they always try to hit is they want you to basically have 3 years of runway
yeah,
to keep the team solvent. If you have the absolute shit 3 years, you can still keep the team functioning.
well, and it's again, I don't think it's necessarily a bad call, but I think it is a hurdle to moving ProRel forward.
For us, it's necessary because if you lose any potential investors.
well, right now there are metros out there that don't necessarily have the capital available.
Because they don't have one big wealthy person to come in and do something, right?
Yeah.
Like that is the issue. And you also have the question of, well, could a mutually funded team, like supporter owned team, be a possible model like it is in other countries? And I mean, even as in the Green Bay Packers, like they technically do that.
Yeah.
So like there are ways to do it, right? But that just doesn't currently fit under those rules.
But let's jump back to the Ager Cup. Are we more excited for it this year than we were last? Do we think the changes will be there to make it worth the time we're taking away from league play?
I would say the only gripe I have about it is for scheduling for championship, they essentially took away the 4 games that they would have for interconference play to just keep it within the 34 game like typical season that they have. Otherwise, I mean, given the format, it's a little wonky, but I still find it fun in the fact that it's still random. It's still going to be playing teams you don't usually play. And then, of course, it's just, hey, it's a Jaeger style team cup. I don't know.
I say the league maybe should have tried to maybe include fans a little bit more in setting the schedule, but I bet that was a really long day.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely more excited for it, just purely for the fact of having championship teams in it. I do think we might see less full rotations like we kind of did this season, right? Because the first, what was it, like 6 of our 8 games, we really rotated our lineup.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to be doing that as much.
It is just 4 games this time.
It's just 4 games. And so, I don't know. I would have, again, I have a little bit of a gripe about the format. Just I think it could have been maybe a little bit neater, a bit cleaner. But as far as the actual excitement, yeah, it's especially those away games. I just, wish we could have gotten.
The schedule could work for us. We play our 2 toughest games first, and if championship teams decide early, we're gonna play some of the guys on the bench for this game. Maybe we sneak a shootout win in New Mexico. Then maybe we're getting our confidence and we win in San Antonio, and we have El Paso and Texoma at home.
I mean, yeah, it's.
And
I feel like
Thank you,
Mexico's
don't
gonna.
get
I feel like Mexico's going to be a tough game no matter what.
yeah,
I think,
it will
I mean,
be, of course.
yes, San Antonio's a game I think we do have a chance in. I mean, it depends on what our roster ends up looking like, but
As well as San Antonio's.
yeah, I still would say we maybe have a chance. El Paso, I mean, we've
I think-
beaten them twice.
I think it could get fun for a lot of teams after that second match day. When that's probably the first time when teams will start following other games in their group.
And do you think it's also going to be the third match day where people start being like, I'm going to just go and score a bunch of goals?
Oh yeah,
Probably, yeah.
like, who cares what the result is? Let's just go and score,
Mhm.
Just put all your strikers on.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5-1-4.
Oh, wow.
All right. Moving on from the chaos that is the Jaeger Cup. Regular season schedule
The
drop.
chaos that is our schedule.
Oh.
Chaos that is our television schedule. Maybe a bit of an airplane schedule, at least for the first half.
If any of you have relatives that have not gotten you a gift this year, at least Christmas, ask for them
Or
some
Hanukkah.
sort of gift card from an airline.
I would say sunscreen because we're going to be outside a lot in August
That's
and
it.
September. It's, if I remember correctly, of course, season starts in March.
Mm-hmm.
1 home game in May.
Yep.
Our second home game is in June.
Mm-hmm.
We don't play our 4th home game until July. And at the moment,
2 in June.
at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
12 of our first 15 scheduled games are away.
Yep.
That is bonkers.
You have 3 home games in July. 4 home games in August. 3 in September. 4 in October.
We understand that this is what a schedule looks like when a baseball team and soccer team that share the same stadium are no longer working hand in hand with each other, and the baseball team is the primary tenant. And I don't know why. And we all know what the reason is. The reason is they want us to try and get 2 games in a week so that they do fewer field flips.
Yep.
But you can flip the field in May and play 2 games at home in May. You can flip the field at home and play 2 games in a week in June.
One of the issues in May, which I will say is generally is genuinely an issue, and one that I know we've encountered before, is that at least one of those weeks in May is high school
baseball tournament.
So that does leave you only really 1 weekend in May, because 3 of those weeks are then filled up instead of just 2. So in last year we did that. We played a Wednesday weekend game at the very first week of May. and maybe that's what that one Saturday.
And of course, June is
Yeah.
College World Series. If I remember correctly, last year we played a game during College World Series. This year, I don't think this upcoming season. I don't think we are.
It depends. We're on the 12th at home, which is a Thursday. That's the other
So
thing to talk
when's-
about. And then the 25th, which
Do
is
me
a
a
Wednesday.
do me a favor. Give me when's the last game in May?
Our last game in May?
Yes, doesn't matter home or away.
May 25th against Naples.
Is that on Saturday?
Sunday?
Sunday. Okay, that means the next day is Memorial Day. That's
Mhm.
always the day that the baseball tournament is announced. So
Mhm.
the weekend after that is regionals.
Okay.
Weekend after that is super regionals, which
Okay.
means that the next weekend is the start in Omaha. So now you know which weekend the game started. And I think if I remember
So we
weekends
have,
correctly,
we have a game the Wednesday of that week, or that first week. Of,
probably like 2 days before the tournament starts here.
Mhm.
Sounds about right.
I think we're gone the entire time.
The balancing of it, at least amongst the league, seems to be a little bit better. You still have some where you're playing 2 away, 1 home, but all in all, it's better than we've seen.
I was excited at the idea of maybe the Jaeger Cup still being the same number of group games because with 2 more teams in the league than last year, it's a more robust true round robin schedule.
Mhm.
But that's not what I assume championship teams would not commit to play that many games.
I'm not sure if it's necessarily the teams either. Championship has a more robust CBA.
Oh, I was assuming it might be somewhat related to it, but for them to get a decently full schedule for their regular season because they have so many more teams, you're giving up a lot of potential like matchups where you do want to see teams play each other twice.
Yeah.
And their schedule is even more unbalanced than ours is already.
Well, if you want to see more about the schedule, I mean, just watch the season.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for watch party locations because you're gonna need those in the spring.
Or do away days, which
I mean, yeah, we have Greenville, we have South Georgia, we have Richmond, then New Mexico for that cup game. I mean, Madison, we have twice, May and June.
3 Madison Omaha weekend games. They finally got
Finally
that.
did it.
yes, they
Finally
finally did
did
it. Let's
And I guess that's the other thing to note, since we are a slightly unbalanced schedule, right? We do play Greenville away twice, and then home once, as well as Madison, and then we play Portland and Texoma home twice, away once.
Portland home twice surprised me a little bit. Giving you're only choosing 2 teams for a team to have to travel to twice, and they give Portland to us.
And that is not an easy flight.
Yeah,
There are
they
no
could've-
direct flights.
I'm guessing it's change in New York or somewhere like that.
Well, if you fly direct out of Portland, it's either, if you're lucky, Detroit or New York, Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I imagine maybe they wanted us to have Texoma as that second team, but once we got grouped them in Jaeger Cup and drew
Oh
them.
wait. Oh yeah, it's Spokane, not Texoma, that we do that twice. Then.
Yes,
It's
but once-
Spokane. And
But
Portland,
once we got drawn to play Texoma the second time in the Jaeger Cup,
that's why.
they probably didn't. If that was potentially a matchup already.
I'm guessing that's. the thought.
I'm wondering, because I haven't looked closely at either of those teams' schedules, if they put it where Spokane is playing us one of the times and then Madison immediately after or before, and the same thing with Portland.
You can
And
see
if
it'll
you-
take me then.
If you limit travel through the double booking.
We're definitely one of the teams you can do that with this year because we're going to have so many midweek games when we're trying to play 2 in a week at home.
Yep.
So you can always do the Omaha Madison double, the Omaha Spokane double.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have some sort of software out there that is some weird magic that they all plug it in as they have put all the demands of all the teams and the venues.
You do? Have you ever watched a UEFA Champions League draw?
Yes. Yeah, no, but I know what happens either way.
Well, it's not the case for Portland and us, at least. Because the first time they play us, It's Sunday, Saturday, Saturday, so they don't have, and they're home the other on either side, and then they're home on either side the second time, which is a Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. So they have to travel for a midweek game and then go back home.
Oof. Oof, yeah,
Yikes.
gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that
a-
sucks.
Come on, Portland's
And it's
been nice the
Madison,
whole
and it's
time.
Madison.
Why'd
They
you do
play
this?
us after.
Oh god.
Oh,
Yeah. All right.
that's
Well,
brutal.
I guess
Luke stepped away, guys. So,
I guess the big wish, I guess, in the future would be some sort of I don't know, way to figure out how to have weekend games more often than just doing midweek travel slogs.
I mean, I think that'll change once we get a new stadium.
Absolutely, but I feel like
that's the first resolution if we want to talk about that.
yeah, let's
is stadium.
We will transfer over to the resolutions that we all have now that we've talked about schedule. JR, since you're the one that was not in the article, let's get yours out.
Yeah.
well, most of you already basically said the. I mean, let's just be honest. These aren't resolutions. These are gripes.
I mean, a little bit of the resolution.
They are-
some of our resolutions.
What?
They are suggested resolutions.
The one that I would cover, which was I think sort of tangentially covered already, is the fact that individual teams need to do a better job of basically marketing the entire league more. I want to know at halftime what happened in matches last week, what current scores there are in games happening today, what the table is like, and you basically have to look for a kiosk to even just find a table.
Well,
That's it.
I will say that is something that Union Omaha did a lot better in the 24 season. Is they did have the table on display in multiple places.
Yeah.
That's fine, but like it's
But it wasn't on the jumbotron.
Yeah.
I understand that, but it's the minor league owner mindset of yes, there are other games happening, but you're only here for this. It's not you're invested in what's going on in the league.
well, I think it's more like we have 18 minutes at halftime to make our sponsors happy. Let's do what we can to make that happen.
We have 18 minutes for a dog and pony show.
Mm-hmm.
A dog show would be
Which-
nice.
A dog show would be nice.
One of the things, like I think about the times I've been to Nebraska games, and you'll see along the like smaller display boards the scores like scrolling around.
Yes, the ribbon.
the ribbon. Yeah,
I wanted to make the comparison to baseball. I learned
Exactly.
about all the other teams in the National League going to San Francisco Giants games when I was 7 years old
Mhm.
because they would flash how the Mets and the Phillies were doing.
When was that?
Definitely in the 80s.
But I mean that's the same thing. Like you have your big display board.
Yeah.
The bottom of it can be like however big the board is, but like maybe a 5-foot ribbon or whatever that is displaying the other team scores.
Mhm.
Like that's definitely possible.
I would like to see more along the lines there, but also just a little bit more about the team. Like you do a very good open up with here's Union Omaha, one means all, that whole videography, but just a quick blurb on understanding who you're playing against, what they've done, what their highlights from their last game.
Okay.
So it's not should I care about this game? I don't follow the league.
Basically,
should I care about this game?
I think the only way you can really figure that out is if you go to the digital program, which it's a digital program that they're basically like hoping that you click on. And
Yeah.
let's be honest, that's not.
I don't.
No, but like a quick, 5 minutes before, as their team's coming out, their highlights from the past, 5 games, their goal or their loss, something you can jeer at while their players are coming out.
Or warming up.
Yeah. Like that sort of thing, I think would get more people invested in the game and, understanding the stakes of certain games that the supporters understand because they're following the league, but your casuals don't necessarily.
I guess I can kind of go into the whole like general education of like not just.
Is that what your degree's in?
No,
Oh,
man, I don't think I can do that. Have you seen my age. I don't want to know what the ones younger than me are doing. But just general education of not just Union Omaha, but also just the sport in general, like what is going on in the world, whatnot. Obviously, there's the ribbon, there's standings or stuff like that, but also I would say just simply explaining just how basically how the league works. Example, like it's 3 points, 1 point, whatever. Because yeah, a lot of people going to soccer games understand that, but also a lot of new people just don't understand that or don't know how that works or have not been
That
told in the
is
past.
that is sometimes I think touchy because sometimes you get someone who doesn't like it when because they're like, yeah, we already know this, and but I do understand having it for newer fans.
And maybe it's not that specifically. I'm sure there are other education opportunities, whether it be just simply saying what the league is.
Are you calling fans stupid?
Lindsay Horan has quoted on this many times for Americans. I'll take her words as mine as well at this point. But that's also for multiple reasons other than not knowing.
I see it as an investment that has a payoff.
Yes, exactly.
If you start showing everybody in May and June, Greenville's having a really good season. Game when they come to Omaha in September, by the way, that's going to be a big one, and you don't have to tell them that; they'll eventually
Just know it.
Yes.
Yeah, the more cognizant the average fan is of other teams in the league. Like we're 5 seasons in now.
This is our fifth
Past
season.
that season, yeah.
Yeah. The casual fans, like they're not ones you see at watch parties. They're not ones you see getting out and everything. But you're seeing them at more and more games over the course of the 5 seasons, where they're now getting more involved in understanding. Oh, I remember that Greenville game from 4 seasons ago when we won the championship. Like I remember that. I'm more invested in this game now. Madison, they brought those annoying fans that one time, 2 times, 3 times. I really don't like those guys. Like you're starting to see more buy-in from the casuals who are going consistently, and I upgrade from casuals because they're going consistently. But getting that sort of just quick snippet from the team of these are the other teams in the league, and this is why you should be cheering against them. Especially as other teams get cooler kits.
Yeah, one of the props I will give them is there was some of the feedback we had is to involve the players more in some of the like halftime things. So they did start shooting like player videos for the halftime.
Yep.
That shows a little bit more of their personality, which I commend them on doing that.
I think that's I think there's 2 strategies you can get to invest fans into the team. One is through the league and winning a championship, and one is through the players. And yeah, it's clear that they choose to get fans invested through the players. Players do an amazing job of trying to connect with the fans too. So
players are your cheapest marketing.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, it depends on how you think of that. Either your biggest expense or the easiest.
yeah, so that's what you're saying. You're already paying.
you're already paying for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was some CBA stuff about how much exactly they can do. But
It's
but
the announcement time period, like when they're supposed to or when their notification is for an event. You can't throw something at them the same day.
Yeah.
Or they have right for refusal, like that sort of thing. But there definitely is the benefit of these guys are out there on the pitch, so getting them out in the community or doing videos or doing things like that, where you're now seeing the personality and you're invested in this player more. There were a couple of team talks that throughout this season, end of the season, less so at the beginning, but brought first time fans, like this is their first season, to some of those team talks. Sit through one of them, and next game go to with them, it's that was who was at the team talk. Like I'm here. I'm like that's who I'm going to cheer for on our team. Like that sort of thing is extremely important. Especially amongst younger fans, which is where. Well, Dundee Dell has been a fantastic partner. Ryan has some great establishments. around Omaha that support soccer. Putting it into something which is more community friendly, I think would be a little bit better. Larger space where you pick up more of the casuals rather than hidden away in a corner. If you essentially, if you've been to one of the team talks at Dundee Dell where you have to go upstairs, yeah, so you have to know the secret handshake, get through the kitchen, you're dodging knives being thrown
Corner.
at you. Yeah.
It's a fun little walk. I like the intimacy of that, especially.
It's great for
it's
intimate
great.
feeling.
Yeah, it's a great intimate feeling, but also if we really want to get there, let's get a beer hall and let's do like the entire like team talk. Like
Rathskeller.
Yeah.
I mean, they're reopening, and honestly, the watch parties that were held there were some of the more successful for in the Union Omaha scope of things.
I'm up for an electric boogaloo.
Okay. But yeah, no, that fan interaction more than anything is definitely one of the bigger ways to get not just people out there, but also getting permanent connection, whether it be supporters groups or actual like team talks or team sponsored events.
So the next one that I think almost everybody had for their projected resolutions, stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the big thing is we were told Q1 this coming year is when we get shovels in the ground to start building it. So let's see that happen.
Wait,
Or
Q1
if not.
2025?
Q1 2025.
I thought it was fall this year.
No,
I think
no,
more like
it had been fall 24. It had been Q4
Yeah, exactly.
24, but then it had been pushed to Q1 25. So now it's like, okay, let's hit it on that timeline then. Let's actually follow through with that.
Yeah, it's going to start getting real hard in a couple days, folks.
Yeah.
It has
It
gotten
can be March. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, for a while there, we had consistent news on how everything was going,
Yeah.
and then it seemed to just suddenly fall off.
Mhm.
So it will be interesting to see what progress is made and when it is made to hit the timelines, especially with Union Omaha not having rights to Werner in 2026.
Which, yeah.
It's not going to be done by 26.
Resolution wise, that's my biggest. Like, I don't really care so much about the stadium progress as we're building our own venue. I'm more worried about stadium progress for 2026. Because if we don't have Warner as a guaranteed venue, my question is, what are they doing right now to make that happen for 26?
So I have heard from people that are still employed by the team that conversations have been ongoing with venues around the city for 2026 in finding options for home games. So whether it's a singular venue or if it will be multiple venues, even if you jump out of the metro and go to Lincoln, would a game in Lincoln be a bad thing to build a brand?
I don't think it would be bad. I would just question where it was. Because
Memorial.
I mean, Memorial would be interesting, but because I don't know how many people Hibner fits, which is the women's.
Hibner has a seated capacity of I think 1,500,
which is a little small.
But I think they could fit 3,000 if you were putting us behind the goal, which they do not allow people behind the goal. Funny enough, for fear of getting hit with shots. I tested that a couple times. They did not like that. But my only other gripe with Lincoln is it's very far away from.
Tony says on that Lincoln.
It's not far away.
Oh, I know.
It's 45 minutes.
I know, it's 45 minutes. It's 45 minutes. Simply because it's either Hibner or Hail Mary Memorial Stadium, which I don't think they'll ever get. Which Hibner's not a bad venue. It is a great facility in itself. I don't know what would be the benefit if they fail on this one.
I mean, Seacrest would be an option, I would think. Either Seacrest or Lincoln High's stadium
Okay.
because they play soccer there anyway, but it's going to be turf.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
So
turf.
it's
It's
Memorial,
not going
right?
to be it's not going to be the highest.
But
quality
also,
turf.
you're also adding in a possible, if it's one match, I mean, cool, but that's just a lot of hassle for one match when we already need to be putting our tracks ahead in other areas for venue.
So
I don't know. I don't hate it.
here's a nut like Lincoln. I think is a good one. I personally think putting anything there doesn't matter if high school, doesn't matter if it's collegiate. Like just getting a game outside of the Omaha Metro to try and draw people in. But do you limit it to Lincoln, or do you look at even further afield, places which have consistently sent groups to Union Omaha, South Sioux, Lexington? Like,
Any strategy like this, you have
That
to
is gonna be
be
hard.
all in on trying to make it something.
yep.
If you half-ass anything at a location like that, it is just going to backfire.
And I don't think you do Lexington, by the way. Lexington is too small itself. But
I
think
would
you
agree,
you would
but-
either do Kearney or Grand Island. Is what
Yeah.
you would do.
And this is kind of getting into the whole club identity thing as well. Moving your team club, let's say, for even just for one match outside of where your traditional base is. I mean,
Are you not a strong enough supporter that you would travel within your own state to go to one of their matches?
Kearney is what, 3 hours, 2.5,
2.5.
2.5.
Oh no.
I
And-
just recently drove this, so
Yeah.
I haven't.
But at the same time, this is very much MLS. Let's move the Columbus Crew to Cleveland for one match for the Inter Miami match here.
You traveled
No.
to Iowa for a podcast.
Mind you, this is Council Bluffs is essentially just part of the Omaha Metro. It's just no one wants to agree with
Yeah,
that. No
I
one
think-
admits it.
Oh no, I mean it is, but like the big question is then, yeah, do you want to go something further afield? I think Lincoln is close enough that it would make sense. I don't know if further afield makes as much sense.
Lincoln, definitely. Sioux City is one I could see. Play a game up in Morningside,
I mean,
or
don't know how big. I mean, or don't they have a center there or something?
Yeah.
They might have a bigger one.
but like that's an area where you consistently see what, an hour and a half down I-29.
So is that better to do, or is it better to go play in South Omaha?
Well, yes, play in South Omaha, but if you can't get the dates, like if for whatever reason you cannot get
That field does not get used in the summer. I'm pretty certain. Omaha South Field,
No,
I'm pretty sure it doesn't get used in the summer.
but the spring. Like
Yeah.
that's where I think the challenge begins.
Oh, I think you have Creighton or UNF.
We're not playing any spring games in Omaha next year
That's-
already.
That's true. That's a
Very
great
true.
point.
We're playing 2 games in the spring, 3 depending on when the first day of summer is in June.
Unless you want to play indoor,
Uh,
Mid America Centers.
Oh God. Can they?
well, worth noticing that Omaha Kings and Queens,
Yeah.
with a women's indoor team, semi-pro indoor team that has started this season, are playing at Baxter.
Yeah.
So after years of playing it off the wall, which is great little spot,
Mhm.
but
Doesn't fit many people.
does not fit many people. You now get double headers every time at Baxter. Granted, the tickets are
16,000 capacity.
Is that how they're scheduling it?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. I'll
they're
stop
dump
with that
headers.
every game.
it's about the only way. As
It
much
makes
as I
sense.
love,
Queens and Kings games back to back. That's great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's about the only way. As much as I love going to Kings games, a $25 per person ticket is going to be worth it for
Yeah.
indoor soccer.
Also, I feel like that has to do with venue constraints, mostly with hockey and basketball.
Yeah.
But also, just in general, I think it's great simply because not only is it a better venue, but
Well,
also
they've been trying for years to get into because they tried to get into Ralston,
Mhm.
they tried to get into the Mid America Center,
yeah.
and last minute they kept getting shut down. They got shut down by Caesars for the Mid America
Yeah.
Center. Ralston, it was I think whatever they got burned off out on the land Lancers.
Yeah, it's
Lancers
whatever.
with
Lance,
beef.
Yeah.
yeah, but anyway, just in general for Kings and Queens, whatever. First match is this Saturday when we're recording.
January 4th.
Yeah, January 4th, whatever. Go to that, please, because I can't go. I have a family function, unfortunately.
Is your family function not at the game? What sort of family do you have?
They're not soccer fans. I'll tell you that right
My family function is not in Omaha.
away. Same as well. But okay, so we have corrected our venues. We have, as well as possible scheduling for the future. Any other resolution stuff I'm forgetting here?
Tim had a fantastic one on there. Publish the damn yellow card rules.
Yes.
Transparency,
Yes.
not just in yellow cards.
It was
but
transparency across the player conduct.
Yes.
League, we're just gonna keep making shit up until you do.
Yeah.
So,
So if we don't have an injury list, we're just gonna say that someone was off in a fairyland doing something, whatever.
He did make a fair point because I did ask specifically injury list, injury reporting, as for me that's just, it's good to know when looking at the league of, okay, this is an injury. Is he going to be out for a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, season ending? Great to know. It's also good to know that didn't quit or get fired or whatever
Have something
else.
weird happen. Yeah.
Yeah. He makes a very good point. It's great for the supporters to know because when with the Meshach Jerome incident, supporters were there fundraising along with the families and spouses, significant others of the team to raise money to support the family there. If somebody has a serious injury where maybe the mobility limited or it's they're out for an injury or out for a family, and provided they're you're not violating HIPAA or any
Whatnot,
of that,
Mhm.
it's better for the supporters to be able to support when you have that.
Yeah.
And I know League One and I believe Championship to the same level has always been very guarded because the coaches all have tinfoil hats and don't want people to.
I don't.
Yes.
well, is it? I don't have to. Okay, I choose not to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think which is just very odd because people will say that Man United is constantly leaking their starting lineup. I don't think anyone wants to leak their team starting lineup for minor league stuff. I hate using the term minor league, but like lower league soccer USA, lower level USA. We're not that fanatical to the point where we're like,
Your shirt is minor league.
yeah,
We're
amateur
league.
league if we're going to be there. But yeah. If the coaches don't want to release it, I'd say let's make them release it at this point. Let's make it. It's very professional. Almost every other league in the world does it. I hope, or at least tries to.
You can even say someone's questionable.
Yeah.
Questionable has no true meaning, right? Like you can be questionable and play, you can be questionable and not play.
Tom Brady was questionable for his elbow for like 15 straight years.
Yeah.
It's questionable for a lot of other reasons, but
But yeah, that and yellow cards, both good things. I wanted to mention something. We didn't really talk about marketing. I mean, that was maybe part of one of the.
that was one
resolutions.
I put out there was more investment in marketing.
So I get an email on my student or a faculty email account. So you might have seen this too, about from the Storm Chasers, all the friggin' time. I get emails all the time from the Storm Chasers. I don't know why. About
you ever utilize the faculty student? They ever get Storm Chasers tickets away if you send it?
I don't think that I've ever utilized that.
I wonder if it's
but,
possibly an NIL thing.
but I know that they do send it. They send Storm Chasers stuff all the time. The one time they sent a Union Omaha thing was from the Storm Chasers account about the final. The only time I've ever received anything Union Omaha.
And wait, and not receiving anything about games that were actually being played at UNO's campus?
Nothing.
I feel like this is. I'm not saying like denying this, but like I don't get Storm Chaser stuff on my school email. But I would find it somewhat ironic if you were the only one that had this problem on campus.
to torment us.
I know,
pretty
right?
much.
If you had blocked Union Omaha's,
Yeah,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, like
I don't think so.
But
make sure you whitelist it.
at the same time, though, unfortunately, because the teams are no longer linked, I don't know we'll be getting that same marketing. In the
I don't
future.
think so.
Exactly.
But that strategy is something that they've done, and the Supernovas did this a ton too. Like
Yes.
the Supernovas would do this all the time. But I want to see maybe something at least somewhat similar that they try and reach out to students, especially if in 26 most of the games are going to be UNO or Creighton campus, right? Like then that's such an easy way to get people involved. So I really hope that that's something that they kind of step up with the new separate organization.
Yeah. No, but that season we're going to play 10 straight weekend games in summer when students aren't on campus.
I don't know. I mean, we're only playing a few games in June and July. Most of them are August,
No,
September, October.
It's going to get completely revamped.
They're gonna find a way to do it.
All right. If you want to look at more of our projected resolutions for the league and the team, go to wgahmedia.com. Tim has some good comments on everybody's there, except John's, because John didn't get the assignment.
I've been sick the last few days, so I'm going to.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, we had signings.
Before we get to signings, I have one more resolution that's pod exclusive. And this is just my personal taste here. Since everyone else seems to be getting a collar for a kit from Hummel this year, I'm hoping.
No! Collared kits are terrible.
I want one. I just want one.
Collared kits are terrible.
I don't think that's our vibe.
Ah, damn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd rather
All right, fine. All right.
You can't have a chip on the shoulder if you can't see the shoulder.
Fine, go to signings. Go to
I mean,
signings.
I mean,
All right.
signings does actually mesh with my other resolution, which was rebuild, because this is the third year of a coach, and last time we saw that was theoretically. The last time we saw that was the 22 season, where we had a really great Open Cup run, but we didn't do as well in the league as the other years because we had those 1-and-1 deals that we had signed start to expire. And so I think this rebuilding process is really important and who we can all keep. And so we do have the signings for the first of that at least.
Yeah.
Different roster too, given that Dom's first year, we know, or we were told, that outgoing GM Peter Marlett had a lot to do with those players that were signed.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those players were important pieces to the championship team this past season.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to see how much of the roster is built from college graduates, how much is built from championship players that maybe want to get more minutes in League One. How many of them are us going to League One players that are free agents that we can entice them with, hey, won 5 trophies in 5 years, want to come play for us?
So here's, to me, the most interesting part is other teams are pretty consistently announcing at this point. You know, you're seeing 1 or 2 a day from across the league. I have not seen a single one of our players from 24 announced for another team.
This is around the time you'd see it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is contract negotiation.
League One's usually League One teams are usually a few weeks behind the championship teams because players that we're talking to maybe are getting offers from championship clubs, and we wait to see which ones do get signed and don't get signed, and then we get to start signing our guys.
Yeah.
Do you want to read off the list of
So we do have an official list released along with one told by coach himself. So the official returning players are Charlie Ostrom, Ryan Jiba, Brandon Knapp, Blake Malone, Anderson Holt, Dion Akoff, and Mark Bronick, along with Max Schneider as announced by coach.
Announced Won the Rocks?
Yeah, on Won the Rocks, which that happened as I was literally in the next room as that was happening for one people there. I wasn't listening at the time, but
there's one notable absence I would say that we know is probably on contract, which is Shido.
I always thought that he was signed through next season.
So the graphic they released for it is very interesting because you have all of the players and then the trophy is being held up
By Shido.
by Shido.
Yeah, look up a tweet or wherever you
That's
find
giving a
it.
lot of credit.
No,
I would never have thought of that.
but
I mean, the thought. I'm pretty sure Shido is still signed, like you said. I think the thought is he might be looking
Which
at other clubs, which would make sense, right?
Meaning we might be looking.
Or we might be looking.
yeah, we might be shopping at like, hey, do you need a keeper?
I mean, he's won everything except the Jaeger Cup the league has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought is, well, if he stays with us, that's still 2 more years at least before we would go championship.
Yeah.
Right. Which again, I think this calculus is a lot different if we would be going championship in 26.
Yeah.
But with 2 years, I do think that maybe you actually want to take a step up early now.
So here's the question. With the guys that we would like to have on our championship side,
Mhm.
you loan them. Do you sign them to a longer term contract and loan them?
I don't know if he's okay with that or not. I think it would depend on his feelings.
Well, I'm not saying specifically for Shido, but I'm saying in general. Like the guys that you want to retain, you think have the possibility, sign them and loan them.
Loaning in this environment right now is so very odd, simply because a lot of the times these loans they don't follow through with signings or eventual like permanent contracts or anything substantial. Sometimes.
How did our players that have been loaned to us in the past, how has that worked out?
Well,
See, I don't think this works in reverse, because is it okay? We're signing somebody that's good enough for championship. We're gonna loan them to championship. Why are we loaning them to championship? They're good enough for championship. Let's just kick ass in the league this year.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're younger players, they're not gonna play at championship level. So that means you want them to maybe train at a championship club. There are probably very few clubs I would want to
But see, here's
loan a guy out to just for
here's the
training
power move.
facilities.
You're a lower league side loaning up.
As much as that's a nice like little
I don't
thing,
think it's gonna happen.
it's just we've already got the reputation. Let's just carry out the championship, and then we can do it ourselves to MLS clubs.
Oh. To the point of loanees, former loanee Blake
Yep.
Steinbach, he's won the armband at least once this season. Dion's won the armband a few times. Made a couple minute appearance in the final.
That was 30.
It was 30-ish, yeah.
It was 30.
It was a good
Yeah,
20
Dion,
at least.
Dion got a good shift in.
While we were comfortable.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. This was before the goal that sealed it, but after.
When we were 2-0.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, Max came in and did well. Misael came in and did well. I question you, Luke. Do you know the name of the player we loaned from Louisville and never played a game?
I do.
There
You want
we
you
go.
want a hint? Alliteration.
It is.
I know. It's one of those where I can visualize the name in my head, but I can't.
So yes, we have a history of some loans paying off, but it can also because he was a young player too.
Yeah.
He was a
Sebastian.
20.
Yeah. And he was, the hope was like get training, maybe get some minutes, like happened with Misael, but he just didn't quite make it into
I think
the
he
team.
got hurt.
He did.
Okay.
He got hurt in training.
But I don't know if it can go the other way, right? I don't know if you can do that loading up. So
I mean, we do have some of the better medical care in either league.
True.
that's true.
Our
Shout
Shout out to
partnership-
MC.
Yeah, our partnership with UNMC has made us very enviable in that aspect.
But I'd say overall, if we're looking just at like not just loaning, but signings in general, like if we want to get players that want to get minutes in general, I've been very happy with who we've been able to find, whether they've just been Charlie, randomly not New Zealand, whatever, playing, or Evan Conway, who we randomly signed just from the trial.
I don't think it was just random. Like,
I mean, it
he
wasn't
did
random.
Well, in the trial.
I know. But like, it's stuff like that. We have a great
Almost
little.
like a preferred invitee.
Yeah.
We do have a great eye for finding those people, regardless of who has been the staff so far. I'm gonna trust them.
I mean, well, what I think is the play. I mean, we'll see who we all bring back, but I think any new signings, one of the big plays is going to be sign someone younger, maybe from college, maybe not, but someone younger who will be able to play in League One for 2 years, and then by that third year would be able to take the step up to championship. But then they can just stay with us to do that.
Yeah, the bridge here is going to be fascinating. It's Lexington did the opposite, right?
Yeah.
They basically just,
They
nuked their
signed the
whole
championship roster,
Yeah,
and then it didn't go well.
And then they're doing another championship caliber roster as of right now. We'll see how that ends up. But for us, our roster building has been, I wouldn't say just like extremely great. I would say this is probably the best roster building out of any team in the league ever.
My gut tells me we're gonna probably try to do Steven DeSantos part 2. Really experienced championship player that could get more minutes dropping down, that has scored a bucket of goals. And we're going to
Because-
try to get that one flashy guy and then build behind them.
Well, I mean, that would make
We've already
sense
kind of built behind them.
because if you think, the signings we have almost all defense. We have Bronick, who's a young player who's up top, which I see him filling more of the Misael role this year, where he's getting a decent amount of time, but he's still younger. He's still coming into things. But we definitely need a couple other strikers and a number of midfielders to fill that out too.
We have none of the returnees are international.
With the exception of
Jiba, maybe?
well,
Jiba
Schneider
Jiba's
would
probably gonna
be,
do it.
right?
Schneider
would be
I believe
if he comes. Is he
I
not?
believe he's a dually.
I believe he's a dually at this
He is a
point.
dually. Oh, I didn't know
Because he's
that.
been here, he's played in Marshall, whatnot. He's not on the list here, but yeah, he played in Marshall. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a dually at this point, given he played for St. Louis, was signed by Indy, whatever.
Yeah, the only question would be Jiba, but I don't think
They-
I think he's a dual as well.
I think so. And like Schneider, because he was signed by Indy and loaned,
Yeah.
you're not signing an international at
Oh.
a championship level.
And then
Does it really work like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same
It's
roster rules.
still under roster.
Okay.
I think they have a couple more roster slots that you can put international, but
Oh,
I don't think so, but that's also based on my football manager experience. Very fun roster rules, mind you. But either way, they have international roster spots just the same as we do. They're not just going to loan a random guy, especially if he's not making minutes like that, and they're going to try and utilize him, which clearly not. So,
So, do you think we look, especially with new teams coming in and you're seeing players jump from Union Omaha to, or not Union Omaha, but Union Omaha's competitors to the expansion sides? Do you think we start looking outside the U.S. more if that would kind of cleared up at international?
I think the first thing we do is look for good international players in U.S. colleges.
That's kind of how the college system works right now, right?
Yeah.
It's, unlimited.
yeah,
International
it's
potential.
a Vermont team that just won the national title with I don't know how many like starters that were international players on their squad, whatnot. As well, the same for Marshall.
Yeah, they've done the same thing.
And I have to say that's probably as much as there is an article trying to debase that for whatever reason. I think it's probably one of the most positive things about American colleges getting international talents soccer-wise in the United States that also not just wants to get an education, but also they want to play their games here professionally as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing I haven't seen what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
the thought might be that it stops American players from playing as much, but that might be the only potential issue.
So,
But
they on H1As or H1Bs?
That's a very good question, but
I mean,
not-
they're on a student visa.
Yeah, they're on a
so-
student
No, I'm saying when they are signed to the team.
then
That I don't know.
it'd be like short-term workers visa.
Are
I mean,
athletes on J1 visas?
That might be.
I think it
don't know.
depends on the level of athlete.
Professional, you're getting paid. It has to be it.
Yeah. But
But
regardless,
that's
Exemplary? Is that what you said?
exemplary. I think because like that's going for
Motherfucker, we've won 5 trophies in 5 years. We are exemplary.
if anyone's an immigration lawyer watching this or listening,
Yeah,
please
I mean, what it might be too is I know that there's some, at least in England, I believe there's some rules that you have to play a certain number of international matches to be considered eligible for certain things.
Yes.
So I don't know if that
that
applies or
is
not.
also a football manager problem.
well, and also some of those like specific visas are for shorter term, like touring musician sort of things,
Yeah.
where it's a multi-month tour that extends past your tourist visa or your short-term work,
Mhm.
and you're playing stadiums versus your casual artist who's playing small clubs and has to.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that like we had been kind of started that off with that college players is probably the first place we start, even before looking at
Yeah,
like players from the Brazilian league or from
Even if
leagues
it
in-
isn't
leagues in
Kenyan
lower Europe.
Premier League.
Even if it isn't
The
international
New
players.
Zealand second, third division. Yeah.
We can be community college players, which we have scouted heavily before as well. So
Yeah,
Congrats to Northeast.
yeah.
Northeast Nebraska Community College. They won their lower level division championship this past year.
Yeah.
The one that
and Iowa Western.
Iowa Western
Um,
Alumni.
Northeast Nebraska or Northeast Community College won the one that I think Iowa Western competes in this year. But Iowa Western's won it a lot. Yeah.
Iowa Western won.
Was it 2019?
I think they won this year.
I don't keep up with enough. There's a lot of soccer going on in the world. But
There's a lot.
Iowa Western Community
JUCO's
College.
also weird schedule.
The rules are weird. It's whatever. But obviously, there's a hotbed of talent in college. I think that went really well in 22, as well as just throughout our entire thing. So,
Yeah.
like let's go for college here. Let's play the kids.
Play the kids.
And that builds into the plan of, hey, you sign someone somewhat younger, 2 years, and they're ready for championship level.
Are you thinking that we are at a point where we can do a 2+1?
Yeah. We should be able to do a 2+1. Now, I don't know if we'll do it on that young player, but I think someone honestly like a Pedro who technically spent another year in another league before coming to us. I wouldn't be surprised if we have someone like that who maybe is coming from NISA, which is imploding, or anything else, right?
Nisa's been imploding since it started.
But like if they play like a year or two there and then come over, I would not be surprised if we were like, oh, we can offer you a 2+1.
Or MLS next.
MLS next.
Honestly, the perfect kind of player to offer that kind of contract to, and I'm not sure how available they are to a League One side, but they're the MLS Super Draft signees that don't sign with their clubs. And there are a lot of them.
Yes.
Maybe 5 players sign with their clubs from that draft.
Yeah.
Anymore,
Every
Yeah.
player that does not get drafted from that wants to play in the stage should sign a 2+1 with their championship.
I feel like there was a big headline of one of those players that was recently drafted, but instead wanted to sign for a championship club. Don't remember who they were, but I think they were going to sign for Pittsburgh instead. I could be wrong, but like you constantly see that more and more often, where like you have a national title winning player, whatnot, that was like key to whatever like team that they were on, whatnot. They may get drafted by the super draft, whatnot, but then of course they're not going to sign contracts or do anything with that. They're just going to go straight into professional League One or championship, which I think overall is a nice development and kind of gives credence to the fact that drafts are no longer needed in U.S. soccer for players to determine where they want to go.
Pageantry.
You know, if they made a signing day or like transfer window day, that would actually be much better.
I would actually rather watch the draft they do every year where they basically just say hypothetical European superstar. Like, I now own their rights. I draft them. Because I don't think any of us knew that that's how it worked until Messi. I forget what team owned his rights technically.
Who owned
I
Messi's
don't
rights?
remember. Someone else did.
It was somebody
Charlotte
random.
owned Marco
And
Reus.
Someone
It's,
random.
it's because somebody in a boardroom 3 years ago on a phone call said, "Yeah, Messi ever wants to play in MSL, dibs."
Yep.
LS.
Did I say
Like,
MSL?
Yeah,
Yeah, so-
it's fine. It doesn't matter.
Major
We've
soccer
been
league.
going for like an hour and a half.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, I'm not noticing a lot of these that ended up signing immediately, at least with like a championship club. There's one of the Rhode Island's goalkeepers was from the Super Draft this past year. But at least some of them ended up signing with other people. But I don't know if they just don't recognize names too. Yeah, I mean, it's a pathway for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's cover one last topic quickly. Quick question, response. Your favorite moment on or off the pitch of the 2024 season?
You have one you could start with? I need to think.
Yeah, no, honestly, for me, it was getting new fans out to the game, kids who'd never seen a soccer match before, professional soccer match before, and just getting the absolute light up in their eyes seeing a Union Omaha win.
I can follow that up on the off the pitch for me. I took my half brother to a Union Omaha game for the very first time. I took him to multiple regular season as well as a playoff game this year. And he's soccer obsessed. He's unfortunately a huge Messi fan, but I'm going to use
Not
that.
everyone's perfect.
Hey, listen, I'm using that to channel him towards Union Omaha. He absolutely loved taking photos with the players. We got photos with Blake and Steven after the games as well. So I'd say for that, just doing that for off the pitch wise, that's probably my favorite moment. But on the pitch, I'm going to say Luca's goal against Lexington, simply because he essentially shot his shot in the team talk there
He called it
before. Yeah.
He called it.
Wait, I thought Marco called it.
That was
I thought Marco called it for him.
One of them called it whatever, that they were going to get a goal for that. And simply the fact that the scenario was we were down a goal at one point. Lexington was down to 10 men. We had gotten one back already, but it was in stoppage time. And just that header was probably the best headed goal I've seen in a while.
it was good.
Yeah, it was good.
And mine probably would be going to Greenville, watching them win
Oh,
that
yeah.
game. I think that game was the turning point of the season. It
Of
was.
course you do.
It was a brutal game. It was.
That
a
was-
lot of heavy tackles. The weather was miserable. We had 2 players leave with injury in that game, I believe.
Yep.
Both Dion and Marco did.
Yep.
Yeah, and Dion was out for pretty much the rest.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned a couple months after that one.
Yeah.
And everything about the game was great. Not afterwards. I hope American Airlines is still buried under the jail for all of eternity.
This is why we fly Southwest, people.
But everything else
Drive
about
to
that was
Atlanta.
everything else about that trip was magical.
I don't know. I might just go with a cop out and say the championship. Like I was sick horribly during the whole playoff run.
So you had walking pneumonia?
I had pneumonia, yeah. So it sucked. And even then, just gosh, since I didn't make the Richmond game, but like even just watching it from home, the wildness of the goal that we scored, which off one end to the other end was crazy, and then the Greenville game being a bit of a comeback and showing the strength there, and then just the domination of the final, like those sets of games really just showed a whole lot about the team, and I just really loved it. Yeah.
Not just the how good the team was, but simply because the entire playoffs, the entire thing on the entire team's mind was Mishak.
Yeah.
Of course, there was the fact, I don't know when it was interviewed or asked about for Dom. It was one of the interviews I watched with him as after the title game, whatever. He essentially just gave everyone the choice of if you want to play, you can play. If you don't want to play, I understand.
Yeah.
And yet we pretty much had a pretty good starting lineup, besides the fact the injuries otherwise, and the fact that Richmond was probably the toughest game for us that entire playoff.
Well, I remember talking to someone who's a fan who's close with Lagos from
Yeah.
previous team, and I had talked to him prior to that game. Like, are you like do you want to play? He's like, no, but I have to.
Yeah.
And like, not a like this is my job. I have to play, but a like very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't say we are the best lower league side of all time because there are plenty of other great lower league sides. But simply the mentality and the way we finished the year.
But we're the best U.S. lower league side
I wouldn't say best,
all time.
I wouldn't say
Right.
best all time. There are some great ones I
Yeah.
admire quite a bit, but
Don't you Rochester Rhinos us?
I was thinking Richmond, but or Orlando City.
Orlando City when they
or,
were,
yeah.
Rhino shitty.
But yeah, no, that
like-
that entire playoff run
But like
was incredible.
I find it very hard to find any other team at our level or even slightly above our level that would be able to do that. Not to mention the fact that the Shield winner in the USL Championship lost horribly at home in their own knockout match.
Yeah.
And for us, it was just an absolute grind to a championship game that we eventually dominated.
All right. Any last thoughts?
I mean, I mentioned this as part of the resolution, but you know, if we can rebuild and we can work toward a home playoff game, that's a great first goal. Start there. We'll see.
All right. And boys, the last question, 2024. Who gives a hoot?
We do!